All right, let us shift gears to another very topical company, MicroStrategies. Brett is going to take a look at this business. He's looked at it in the past. It's had certainly a down year.
Yes, I have. They've actually switched their name now just to Strategy. They have reduced the micro. They're just Strategy now.
That's quite the
That
strategy.
is, yeah, from little strategy to big strategy. So, Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, symbol MSTR on the NASDAQ. It's a Bitcoin treasury company at this point. The company was previously an analytics and business intelligence company. If you go back to the dot-com boom, it's a Bitcoin treasury company. They're really the company that founded that idea. And the vast majority of assets are Bitcoin. So we're just going to focus on the Bitcoin holding method and why it really hasn't worked out. We've covered this company a few times before now, with the last time being about a year ago, where I was quite negative on the company due to the massive premium to the net asset value or NAV, as well as the marketing of Bitcoin yield, which is simply increasing the Bitcoin amount per share through what they were just doing financing, because they don't have operating cash flow. Got to do through financing. Having a Bitcoin yield through financing is only really possible either through debt, which is just traditional leverage, or when the shares are trading at a premium, which is what they were, that premium to the net asset value or NAV. Over the past year, strategy has declined significantly, effectively cut in half, 49.5%, and I think even end of the day closer to a bit lower, so it's probably about 50% over the past year. So obviously a poor return. But given that the company at this time is effectively a proxy for Bitcoin, or it is meant to be, it could have been moved by Bitcoin. Bitcoin does have a poor performance recently, so let's compare it to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been effectively flat year. If you're up 2% when I was pulling this data, I think at the end of the day as well, a bit lower. But the point is, effectively flat versus cut in half for strategy, significantly underperforming Bitcoin, which is really what it was meant to be a proxy for, meant to be a leverage play. They kept always saying, oh, we're a leverage play against Bitcoin, even though their true leverage is 10, 20%, depending on the time. It's not significant in when someone's thinking of a proper leverage play. And even so, it's well underperformed that leveraged amount. And that is because the premium is that was growing previously has declined significantly. So just breaking out the premium, which is taking into account both debt and as well now preferred equity, we're just subtracting that off the common shareholder equity value, as the company in 2025 didn't have any last year when I was looking at it. They've issued a lot of preferred equity, which they did not have before. But we're just wanting to look at the NAV for the common equity, the MSTR share. They have multiple listings now of those preferred equity. So if you are saying MSTE, MSTK, and so on, there's I think there's 5 of them now. You're looking, if you want the common shares, it's MSTR, or if you want to sell your shares, it's MSTR. Here we can see the NAV per share actually did go up. That's what they want. That's the Bitcoin yield. Despite the 3,500 decline in Bitcoin price since I last did the segment on it, NAV per common share increased about 15% to 155 from 135, which is a positive. But we can see at the same time the premium to NAV has declined significantly from 185% to 26%. That is why the share price dropped. Not because of what they've done with the company, it's because before it was euphoric, that massive premium, effectively $3 for $1. It's still a premium when you're accounting for the preferred equity and the debt, which you should, but it's not anywhere near the same extent as it was, and that's why you've seen the share price decline. The company did actually even just issue, Michael Saylor, the CEO, announced it today, and they announced the preferred stock issuance at MSTRE about a week ago, and they raised $750 million, and they subsequently, which was announced today, bought additional Bitcoins, which brings the average cost basis to 74.4 thousand, which effectively means the company actually has still a gain on their Bitcoin on a per Bitcoin basis. But as the company is now using preferred shares and tandem in debt, the interest and dividend payments are actually increasing, which is a concern if you do see a prolonged Bitcoin bear market, which I think people are becoming more and more worried about now that you've seen effectively a 30% or so decline from all-time highs. It will create drag on common shareholder value, as these payments will reduce the NAV, whether it's payment in kind or interest payments through cash, depends on the preferred equity. One of them can have payment in kind. So the reason why I really wanted to do this segment again and highlight it is because we can take away a couple of things, because I'm sure we're going to have similar companies like this come up again because you do see them. And you saw Carl Icahn's IEP a few years ago. Similar thing, financial assets that are liquid and you can track, not a private fund, even though Icahn, and for that, he did have tried to make it seem more like a private fund in some sense. But financial assets just should not really have a premium to them. If anything, it should be a discount for these publicly traded pseudo funds through a corporate form. And now that's mostly been closed off. And that is the risk which you were taking when we have people saying, oh, the Bitcoin yield, it's going to go way up. They're accumulating so many Bitcoin. You are the market. And this is what I was trying to say last year as well, is this is the downside of it. That premium is now collapsed. It can actually go further. It can go below 1. So right now we're at 1.26, that 26% premium. It can go below. And that is the more normal than having a premium is actually having a discount, because you do have higher management expenses. They do have leverage. You do have these funds. You don't have convertibility like you do in ETF or other methods of financing or other securities. So last year I quoted Michael Saylor saying they are selling dollar bills for $3. Well, now they're selling dollar bills for $1.26, but they soon may be selling dollar bills for 90 cents, making the strategy non-viable. Further, just be critical of those non-standard metrics like Bitcoin yield, especially when it's one company really parading and it's only specific to them. MicroStrategy or Strategy did really, other companies followed suit and started to say Solana yield, Bitcoin yield, crypto yield, and so on. But these are really odd metrics, especially when they just suddenly come out and they're really marketed heavily. Be critical of that because they might not provide actual value, and that's the case here. Lastly, I just have up on the side here, just because I find it funny, a tweet from Michael Saylor of an image of himself in a life raft. He posted this, escaping the Titanic, AI image, and he's saying HODL in the tweet, which, given he abandoned ship in this image, is a pretty apt metaphor for strategy shareholders abandoning ship as well. Hopefully they can find a lifeboat as well without jumping into the ocean and losing more than money in that case. But lastly, just for disclosure, we don't have a position. We're not shorting strategy or anything, because I think last time this was one of the ones which people were like, oh, they're shorting it. We're not shorting it or anything like that. I think Brendan actually did disclose he had a short position, which he did close out shortly after that, because 2x leverage ETFs are bad. But point is, we do not have a position in strategy at this time.
Yeah, certainly a question we get probably too often on that company. But yeah, it is interesting, the name change to strategies. I mean, typically and historically, you're changing your name because you don't have a positive association with the other name. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's the case here, but anyways, to me, it's not really investable. It's hard to project the value, and I like to look at cash flow. I like to look at earnings and see if we can value a business
Bitcoin
based
yield
on that. No, especially when they're creating that, quasi creating it, right? Like it's your own metrics.
It's not yield. It's trying to pull that same idea of dividend yield, but it's not anything like it. And I think the name thing, if I remember correctly, it was pretty early on in 25 is when they're going from micro, which was they were a software company, to macroeconomic strategy. So it's strategy. That's their idea.
It's quite the strategy. All right.
It's quite the strategy.
That image too, I would just like, wow, like, to post that, like you're in a lifeboat and
CEO of
I know.
Come.
We live in different times. Like we just went over Warren Buffett, and there is no way that he would be posting something in there. I mean, he's almost the same as the modern day CEO.
I want to say one last thing too is in January of 2025, this is what Brennan says: I predict that MicroStrategy will end the year below its current trading range of $380. Essentially because Bitcoin had such a strong 2024, as well the fact that that equity value premium to its Bitcoin NAV, as Brett said, they're selling $1 bills for $3. Like that just can't last. I mean, euphoria does last for a long time in some cases, but it's just eventually the euphoria has to come, in my opinion.
Eventually, yeah, the fundamentals are like gravity. Yeah. Anyways, all right, let's